Yeah.
There he is. Look at him, lost among a sea of eyes, alibis, polystyrene smiles. Once upon a time, he had a wish. He was a wish. He had a wish. A little wish to be a have, to never be a have-not, to never run out of wishes to have, to never let everything be just a once upon a time. Silly little wish he once was, silly little wish with too much to have, too much to want, but never enough to say, never enough to convey. Silly little wish he once was. Once he even thought he did have something to say.
I became a lifestyle.
I became a lifestyle on
I
my
became a
birthday
lifestyle
bed.
on my birthday bed.
I became a lifestyle on my birthday bed.
I became a lifestyle on my birthday bed. Never too brave, never too afraid. Just a simple lifestyle in the end. I became a lifestyle and so I bought myself a life. Got a pretty nice deal with installment payments I had to make only one weekend out of every month. I became a lifestyle and so I bought myself some comfort. Paid for it with a stack of coupons my mom found for me on magazine covers, newspaper editorials, and profiles on celebrity life. I became a lifestyle and so I bought and bought and bought. I bought out of the back of vans. I bought smiles that were sharp as knives. I bought and sold, but only within the confines of the cities with the red night skies. I bought so much that now there is nothing that I have not bought. I bought myself some noise for those long, lonely nights. I bought myself some silence for the constant naggings of my wife. I bought myself a life, and so I became a lifestyle. I became a lifestyle because by the time I was born, there was nothing else I could be. And I knew I had to be something. I knew I had to be something. I knew I had to be something. I knew it because my daddy, he told me so. He led me away from the dance floor, lit up a nice, smooth, manly fag, and had me smoke so much. He had me smoke so much. Just to make sure that I could never run. Because I had to be something and there was nothing I could be. I couldn't be a cook, nor could I be a pilot. I couldn't be a silencing machine, nor could I be a lighter. Nor could I be a lighter. Nor could I be a lighter.
Thou dost marry, I give thee this plague for thy dowry.
Whilst thy
Be thou as
machine
chaste as ice,
is
as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny.
whilst
Get
the
thee to
machine
another.
is his.
Go, farewell. I say we shall have no more marriage. Those that are married already, all but one, shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery. Give me a full note.
Whilst thy machine
For
is
I, mine eyes, will
his.
rivet
Whilst
to his
the
face, and
machine
after
is
we will both our
his.
judgments join in censure of
Whilst
his.
this machine is his.
It's your place. I must be idle.
I became a lifestyle and then there was no more room for more. I became a lifestyle and then there was no more room for more. Not even time, not even time. I became a lifestyle and then there was no more room for more. All I could do was repeat, all I could do was repeat. I became a lifestyle and then there was no more room for more. Now I'm just part of something much bigger. Now I'm just the abstraction of everything I used to claim, of everything I used to hate. And I don't have an opinion over grand matters such as war because quite frankly, I don't even have a fucking choice. Yes, I'm still crying about not having a voice, and yes, I am doing it while screaming at the top of my lungs. But how much difference would it make if I were to shut up at age 25? Would the people at the bar even sell me a smile if I were to stand beside them forever silent with nothing else to offer but a nice view of my eyes? Will I suddenly become the lifestyle I've been told my entire life I would someday have to be? And if that were to happen, what do I do with everything I have, everything I know I need, all the needs I have bought? I became a lifestyle on my birthday bed, and with that, I became a lot of bumbling bullshit. A lot of bullshit for someone else to find, someone else to need, someone else to buy. I became a lifestyle on my birthday bed, and now there is nothing else I would hate as much had I become that. I became a lifestyle on my birthday bed, and now... there is nothing else I would hate as much had I become that.
Vida. Ejercicios.
Les hacemos un gran favor.
I had a cat once. Nausea was her name. Nausea was her name, and her name was everything I could ever hope to say, I could ever hope to be.
My family's having a birthday
so much more than I could ever hope to see. Now Nasia was an ordinary god, very ordinary indeed, took care of ordinary business, made do with very little faith. Nasia was ordinary, but she was a god nonetheless. Whatever I did, wherever I went, Nasia was sure to be there. Silent, always silent, spreading her images around, letting her words roam about. Such a silent, ordinary god Nasia was.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Great. You'll have good food, you'll drink some wine, you'll feel like you're part of the family. by the way, just don't wear any makeup. Why not? My mother will call you a whore.
Machine Head, no, a mi criterio uno de los mejores álbumes del 99 del Burning Red es este álbum. Siguen un poco la onda que venían haciendo, aunque bajaron un poco.
Hey, what's this? What? This? Let me see. Oh. You know what that is? One of those old pneumatic tube systems for sending paperwork around the building?
Oh my God, you're right. I'll telegraph President Coolidge. No, but,
Nasia says she waited for miracles to happen, for particulars to develop among her flock of sheep, but never did she expect them to take as long as they did. One morning, I woke up to the tune of the writing on the wall. She said she got tired and bored, waiting for my call on the telephone. I say I did call every single day, just never thought to do it out loud. After all, I really had nothing to say, and she was the silent god. And if anybody could listen to my absence of voice, I expected it to be one such. Not the paper boy who zips by on his bike each morning before 5, not the Jesus-friendly middle-aged virgin who sometimes likes to call herself my mom, but Nasia, my silent god who had withstood everything, but this time couldn't stand my silence, which on any given yesterday, I seemed to have taken too far. Such an ordinary silent god Nasia was, such a lack of everything there is to lack, has her absence become. They all wanted to be cowboys. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. They wanted to be hunters on the lookout for new prey each night before they went to sleep. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. They wanted to be hunters on the lookout for new prey each night before they went to sleep, to have everything there was to have and to never ever even dare to have enough. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. They wanted to be hunters on the lookout for new prey each night before they went to sleep, to have everything there was to have and to never ever even dare to have enough. They wanted the silent dramatic pauses that only heroes get to have and a cynical manic depressive laugh track to fill in whenever the pauses got to be too much. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. They wanted to be hunters on the lookout for new prey each night before they went to sleep, to have everything there was to have and to never ever even dare to have enough. They wanted the silent dramatic pauses that only heroes get to have and a cynical manic depressive laugh track to fill in whenever the pauses got to be too much. They wanted my age, they wanted my name, my lack of everything there was to lack, my complete absence of faith. They wanted my silence, they wanted my face. I just wanted to be clean. They all wanted to be cowboys, to have exciting tales to tell their grandchildren about the time when they were only 17. They wanted to be hunters on the lookout for new prey each night before they went to sleep, to have everything there was to have and to never ever even dare to have enough. They wanted the silent dramatic pauses that only heroes get to have, and a cynical manic depressive laugh track to fill in whenever the pauses got to be too much. They wanted my age, they wanted my name, my lack of everything there was to lack, my complete absence of faith. They wanted my silence, they wanted my face. They all wanted to be cowboys. I just wanted to be clean. Everything is fine. I'm alright. Out of sight. Everything is fine. I'm alright. Out of sight. Everything is fine. I'm alright. Out of sight. Everything is fine. I'm alright. I floated gently down the street, past clean tan station wagons, white picket fences, father mowing lawns, mothers doing laundry, and 2.5 kids kicking a can, as if kicking a can really was what being a kid was all about. I kept moving forward, carefully went through walls, wooden doors, and finally a dirty keyhole, only to find myself in an impeccable white room, everything clean, empty, and sans odor, everything that is, except for the floor, covered by rusty Polaroids, too small and faded for my eyes to focus on. Out of sight, everything is fine. I'm alright. Out of sight, everything is fine. I'm alright. Out of sight, everything is fine. I'm alright. I was then confused. I felt strangely out of place. I then realized this is not a life. This is not a life at all. This is just a motherfucking waste. A waste for the truly desperate ones. You've seen them, I'm sure. You just thought they were weird because they had no shoes. The desperate ones, the ones who need to get angry every morning just to get out of bed. The ones who moan, scream, and cry, all without ever changing the expression in their faces. The ones who, without hesitation, will keep on walking if an old lady falls down, without even cracking a smile. The ones who could tell you everything you ever wanted to know if they only cared enough to utter a sound. The ones who, from the minute they were born, started screaming at the top of their lungs, "Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer." The ones who broke their first mirror when they were only 7 and ever since haven't stopped doing so. The ones who frequent dark alleys just because there is nowhere else to go. The ones who know that the only difference between adolescents and grown men is having the guts to do everything at least 2 times. The ones who lead train wrecks, otherwise known as lives, and are never ashamed to dance naked upon the debris. The ones who beg of you to not bother them while they're on the street, since they're way too busy trying to make it home on time. The ones who grew tired of noise, words, stories, of waiting in lines just to fill paperwork, to get a new number, a new picture, a new motherfucking passport. The truly desperate ones, the ones who grew tired of silence, but still demanded, just because this life would be very tough if we had nothing to demand. Silence. A whisper slices open a dream, guided by wind and voices that runs through yards and yards of broken lips. It awaits to be recognized.
A whisper slices open a dream, guided by wind and voices that runs through yards and yards of broken lips. It awaits to be recognized by a salesman with refunds to offer on tickets not redeemed. It searches desperately for a stage with a show to put on. Any show will do. Any show at all. It rides elevators, trucks, subways, and airplanes. But soon, the whisper understands that only walking, in that place, at that time, will the whisper be able to catch such a show. The whisper finds the perfect place, such a beautiful stage, scene of the crime for 100 crimes of passion, greed, pleasure, or simple metaphysical reasons that the whisper cares not to understand. The whisper walks across gates and shiny halls, finds its seat with such an ease that anyone around would be forced to ponder the necessity of professional ushers in charge of finding seats. The whisper turns into a scream. Always tasks, never names. Always tasks, never names. The scream seats back down, and it's a whisper again. The whisper recalls that somewhere in the living room, near the brown leather sofa, in the right-hand drawer of the wooden desk, right below a diploma given out by people who always seem to care, there lies a pair of binoculars that the whisper could really use on times like this. The whisper becomes a cry. Always tasks, never names. Always tasks, never names. The cry looks back up, and it's a whisper again, perfect in every sense. The whisper decides to blow itself up, become nothing but pieces. Pieces of men, pieces of tears, pieces of rain, pieces of steel. The pieces remember, the pieces believe, the pieces dream, the pieces have faith, but without a donkey's jaw handy, what else could anybody expect out of a piece? The pieces then recognize the whisper as the only place where pieces like them can be safe. The pieces reunite and become a whisper again. Always tasks, never names. Always tasks, never names. The whisper leaves the show just a few minutes before anyone else. The whisper justifies itself with a simple and painful, why not? Whatever doesn't hurt can only heal. The whisper quickly replies to no one around, since there is no one around who will care enough to listen. The whisper becomes an ism. Always tasks, never names. Always tasks, never names. The ism quotes itself, and it's a whisper again. The whisper begins its journey back home. The whisper claims that it has never been afraid, that it has never believed in shit, that it has never lost anything that could later be missed. The whisper is still convinced that everything around is just around for the whisper's amusement, and nothing else. The whisper unfolds a crisp new bill, tastes like caramel, and feeds it to the first vending machine it finds with hollow bullets available. The whisper is now a truth. Always tasks, never names. Always tasks, never names. The truth lets the bullets fall, and it's a whisper again. The whisper wraps itself in plastic, pours honey on its lips, and throws a feather bow around its neck. The whisper is halfway there. It has almost made it to its birthday bed, where it was born in silence and without satisfying anyone's waiting. The whisper, tired and weary, remembers the days when the road home was a lot shorter and pleasant, with a lot less chores to take care. The whisper becomes a doubt. Always tasks, never names? Always tasks, never names? The doubt was never not a whisper, and as such, it can go into all the places where whispers can. It can remain motionless, escape through the cracks in the door. It can forever be forgotten, become a tattoo on somebody's throat. But this doubt decided to be silent, wait beneath broken souls.
Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer.
Tell me
Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer.
time
Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer.
remember
Daddy was an instrument and I was an
this
observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an
is
observer. Daddy was an
only
instrument and I was an observer.
time
Daddy was an
to
instrument and I was an
remember.
observer. Daddy was
It
an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an
is
instrument and I was an
only
observer. Daddy
now
was an instrument and I was an that
I
can
see
it
is
only
now that I can say
Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was
I've
an
never
observer.
been
Daddy was
alone,
an
I've never
instrument and I
been
was an observer.
alone, I've
Daddy
never
was an
been
instrument and I was an
alone, you
observer.
see.
Daddy was an instrument
I
and I
had
was an
never
observer.
lost the
Daddy was an
faith,
instrument
I
and
had
I was an
never been
observer.
afraid,
Daddy was an instrument
I
and I was
didn't
an
even
observer.
know,
Daddy was an
I had
instrument and I was an
nothing
observer. Daddy was an
to
instrument
say.
and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer. Daddy was an instrument and I was an observer.
I am he, the helpless ghost trapped in a glass, trapped in a glass. I am he, the helpless ghost trapped in a glass, the faceless clown, the slightly darker shade of gray. The one who says you don't even want to ask, the one who says you don't even want to ask because he might start violently shaking and laughing while asking, why does it matter? Over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And sure, I sometimes feel lonely. Sure, I sometimes feel lonely, but mostly I am just alone. In my car while driving 90 miles per hour. While driving 90 miles per hour down some wolf's mouth. Down some wolf's mouth. Or at some bar while thinking all the places I should or should not have been. All the phone calls I should have returned. All the paperwork I will have to fill over and over again. And every night I feel this sting in my throat. All the paperwork I will have to fill over and over again. Over and over again. And every night I feel this sting in my throat. And every night I feel this sting in my throat. But cancer is just another word when the biggest tragedy in your life is not being able to die. But cancer is just another word when the biggest tragedy in your life is not being able to die. But cancer is just another word when the biggest tragedy in your life is not being able to die. And what about faith? And what about faith? What does faith have to do with anything in this so-called real world? It's just another high-class word for being too fucking bored. What does faith have to do with anything in this so-called real world? And if you can honestly say that you have never been bored, well then brother, and if you can honestly say that never in your life have you been bored, well then brother, in such peril, you will surely burn in hell for such a lack of everything you need to have in order to not be in such peril. Hell. Hell, what an interesting notion of punishment for someone who has spent his entire lifetime in this place and yet knows nothing about the world around, or even cares enough about it to try and find out at least a few key things, like your name, your age, your sign, your everything that makes you feel more like you, as if that was something to be proud about. Like your name, your age, your sign, your everything that makes you more like you, as if that was something to be proud about. So come on over and try to make me care. So come on over and try to make me care. I promise that I will even try to smile every now and then. Just remember that being a helpless ghost trapped in a glass is a 24-hour job, and that I would much rather be the knife that I drive into my arm every single night before I would ever agree to be your friend. Cause who the fuck gives the fuck about some fucking body who fucking needs to find a fucking friend in a fucking bar? Cause who the fuck gives a fuck about some fucking body who needs to find a fucking friend at a fucking bar? Cause who the fuck gives the fuck about some fucking body who fucking needs to find a fucking friend in a fucking bar? I think I'm losing it again.
I had lost it. I had lost it all. The ability to be still, the ability to be hungry, the ability to need. I had lost it all, and I didn't know if I even gave a fuck about anything I had lost. But maybe, just maybe, I was just too tired that day. Maybe I was just so tired that day I couldn't even think straight. I couldn't sit, I couldn't eat. I couldn't fill my head with the sea of perfect images that like to dance naked upon my debris. I couldn't go shopping. I couldn't go to the bank.
All I could do was be. Right there at that moment, with nothing else in my mind except for everything that I couldn't be. Everything that I was just too tired to be. I was just so tired that day. I was just so tired that day, I couldn't even be God on that day. I couldn't be God, and so I became just another victim. A human being, never too humane, por cierto, but a human being nonetheless. I became another victim, and so I went and hid. Or is it seeking that victims are fond of doing? Hide and seek, seek or hide. Who among us even gives a fuck? They're both one and the same. I seek for a place to hide, while God hides everywhere, avoiding every need to seek. Hide and seek, seek or hide. Why am I still wasting our time? I seek for the perfect way to die, while God hides behind its every reason to not let me find. Hide and seek, seek or hide. Can anybody please tell me if this is ever gonna stop? Why seek for the perfect way to die when life has already provided us with one? Why does God hide behind life when it is only life that gives God a reason to hide? Hide and seek, seek or hide. Fuck me and my questions. I really need a job, or at least cigarettes of a different kind. I need to be alone for a while. I've never been alone, you see. I've never been alone, and so I hide. Or is it seeking that I do? Hide and seek, seek or hide. I seek for an eating disorder that will never go out of style, so I can wear it on my sleeve, take big chunks out of it each night before I go to sleep. God hides floating upside down in the toilet, behind my bed, inside a bunch of tiny, perfectly wrapped plastic bags that my mom will never find or even smell. Hide and seek, seek or hide. I'm just too fucking tired to go on. I just wanted to be still. I just wanted to be hungry. I just wanted to need. Some nights the hunger strikes with no ease. These are the nights when my feet feel numb, and I feel so fine whenever I can just feel. But I get so bored the second I recall. There's no one to love or even fucking miss. And all these things keep falling from the sky, just like black witches on a cold solemn night. And there's no escape for no one at all, except for these blades that keep screaming out, reminding us all just how fake we are. Sleeping with everyone who we don't trust, slashing the throats of everything that breathes, hanging on to these stupid words that have no meaning, they just have a rhyme.
Por ahí fondo te gritaron. Párate un momento.
Espérate.
Mijo, mira, pon atención. ¿Lo has cortado? Aproximadamente por ahí escucharon el chiflido, un chiflido de la loma y ellos se
Déjame tomar
dirigieron.
la loma.
Entonces chiflaron y ellos se aproximaron por ahí donde está Arturo ahorita.
Por el poste.
Hasta por ahí se aproximaron. Y esas personas les preguntaron que de dónde eran. Y Adrián les respondió que de arriba, que si no lo conocían. Y una de las dos personas que estaban ahí arriba le dijo al otro, dispárales, dispárales. Y en ese momento se escuchó un disparo. Efraín y yo estábamos acá de este lado.
¿Dónde?
Ajá, Efraín y yo estábamos aquí cruzando el arroyito ese.
Ok.
Ajá, entonces yo me tiré y Efraín se escondió se escondió en la alcantarilla esa. Ahí se escondió Efraín y yo estaba tirado allá en el suelo. Entonces hicieron otro disparo ellos. Esto sucedió muy rápido. Hicieron otro disparo
And our skinny little fingers that keep reaching
Efraín, que estaba en la
for
alcantarilla,
something to read or something to smoke, something to drink or something to break, something to stick in our fucking veins. Except for the beast that likes to lay on our bed, wearing sunglasses to block out the light. That feels so warm, that feels so nice. But we're too eaten up by our self-appointed faith of being alone, of being sad. And I don't wanna break this shameless routine. So I turn off the lights and I hug myself. I turn off the lights and I hug myself. I turn off the lights and I hug myself. Okay, here's the deal. Yeah.